Hello, my friends. Welcome to the 10th episode of this series about spiritual science. My name is Carlos Guterres, and I'm really enjoying to share with you the information I have been studying and collecting during my entire life. This episode will talk about something very, very important: the language of the symbols. And on the last two episodes, we talk about meditation. I share you the foundations of a specific kind of meditation we call inner journey. And I mentioned that when you begin to practice meditation, it's very important to understand the meaning of the symbols. Why? Because, when you use meditation to move to a higher dimension, we are reaching some levels where there is no material elements anymore, like we have here in the material world. And here we use our five senses to perceive this world, to understand what's going on. But in the moment we elevate our consciousness, our mind, to this dimension where we have just energy. And it happens when you practice meditation, because the meditation, as you could see in the previous episode, take our consciousness to the fourth dimension, to the fourth plane. And this dimension, there is no matter anymore. On this dimension, we have just pure energy. And the energy is flowing, expressing itself in many different frequencies. So the tool we use to understand what's going on, to understand what the energy is telling us, is the language of symbols, because our imagination will translate the different frequencies of energy in symbols that make sense to us. And knowing the symbol, identifying the symbol, we can understand the message. So it's very important for us to begin to study the symbols, the meaning of the symbols, so we'll be much more prepared to our spiritual journey through the meditation. So on this episode, I will talk about just one symbol as an example, to motivate you all to begin to research and understand this language of symbols. All the wise masters from the past, they used the language of symbols because they knew that the words change the meaning throughout the time. But the symbols preserve the essence of the message. The symbols always stays the same. The symbol always stay the same. So in the moment you can understand the meaning of each symbol, you can go deeper in the understanding of the spiritual knowledge, and you'll be well prepared to identify the message you are receiving from the higher dimensions. At the end of this episode, if you like the presentation, don't forget to give a like. And if you are interested in the previous episodes, you can subscribe this channel. The channel is Carlos Gutierrez channel. Okay, so let's begin the presentation of the day. So, the language of the symbols. Today I will talk about a very important symbol, the 6-point star. And the 6-point star, when you study spiritual science, represents the wisdom. So we'll talk about the star of wisdom. This symbol is very rich. We can find many different messages studying the 6-point star or the star of wisdom. And you know, this symbol was venerated in various different cultures all over the world throughout the time, different eras. And it consists of the intertwining of two triangles. It's so simple, so basic, but with a profound meaning. So the 6-point star is a combination of two triangles. In sacred geometry, the triangle represents the divine, expressed in the Holy Trinity. You know, many different religions, many different traditions use the Trinity to represent the divine. In India, they have the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. In Egypt, the Holy Family, Osiris, Isis, and Horus. In the Christian tradition, we have Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And if you keep digging, you'll find the Trinity present in almost all the cultures, all the religions, all the traditions. And the Trinity represents the cycles of life too. Example, the beginning, the middle, and the end. The two triangles combined represents a double movement, emanates from the unity. So you can see one triangle representing the ascending movement, and another one represents the descending movement. So the star, this star combined both triangles. So let's begin to investigate the meaning of each part of this star. So first, the meaning of the triangle pointing down. This one represents a movement from the spiritual realms in direction of the manifestation. The movement from the subtle seeking manifestation. It represents the creator's exhale, the desire for manifestation. This descending triangle is presented like a double triangle, as you can see in the illustration, representing the desire to be manifested, to reach the density of the world. And this triangle represents the yang energy. The meaning of the triangle pointing up represents the movement of the material dimension seeking the spiritual dimension, the manifested dimension seeking the subtle dimension. It's the creator's inhale, the desire from the spirit for the spiritual and superior. This triangle is simple, not double like the previous one, representing the lightness of its desire of its search for the divine realms. And this one represents the yin energy. But the triangles are representations of two different movements. The triangle in blue represents the movement up, the desire to reach the most elevated dimensions. And the triangle, the purple triangle, represents the movement down, the spirit search for the material world. So this triangle is a combination of two different movements. But to hold them together in a star shape, we need a special force to fix them, avoiding that each triangle move in opposite directions. So we need a very special energy. A vital energy is this element that fixed and centered these two triangles. And this vital energy is emanated from the sun. The sun energy fixed both triangles and create this 6-point star shape. And this is a symbol of life too. Because if we combine spirit, the triangle pointing down, and matter, the triangle pointing up, both fixed together by the energy, vital energy of the sun, we have life, spirit living in matter. So the double movement anchored by the sun in the center represents life, and also our double purpose in life. So as you can see, we have much more. This simple symbol is so rich. The sun as a symbol of life force. So the sun that is in the center of both triangles, fixing both, avoiding that each one escape in opposite directions, is the representative of the life force. The presence of the sun in the center transforms the two movements, ascending and descending, in a unity we call Star of the Wisdom. This star represents the manifestation of life, integrating spirit and body. The number of points of this star is 6, and 6 means balance and discernment. In sacred astrology, 6 is the number of the sun. 6 is the material number of the sun. Indicates that the energy of the sun that's so light, so elevate, move in direction of the material world and is anchored here as life. The star represents our life purpose too. Each human being in this manifested world has two different purposes to accomplish. One of these purposes is to manifest the subtle. It means to manifest the Creator's will. And it's represented by the triangle pointing down. The second purpose we have is to elevate the dense. It means to perfect and elevate ourselves, because we are the dense material who needs to be perfected. And it's represented by the triangle pointing up. So we have this double purpose, to manifest the Creator's will and to elevate, to purify ourselves, to become lighter and lighter, lighter enough to reach the most elevated dimensions. The way to accomplish them, both purpose, is individual and unique. Each one will find our own and unique way. The 6-point star is a symbol that represents the tree of life too. You know, the tree of life is a symbol present in many different cultures and traditions. We know when you study Kabbalah, we have this symbol illustrated here as the tree of life. But they know the tree of life is mentioned in the pre-Columbian cultures in the Central America, in India, in Egypt, in the north of Europe, and in China too. And the tree of life represents ourselves in our totality, in different dimensions, in different realms, put all together and manifested on this world. So you can see the tree of life is composed by 3 triangles. One pointing up and 2 triangles pointing down. All together creates the Star of Wisdom. Now we have another approach. We include astrologic elements related to the 6-point star. And you'll find on each point of this star, we have one planet. The top of the star, the pointing up, is related to Mercury, and the pointing down is related to the moon. In the center, we have the energy of the sun. On the left side, we have Jupiter above and Mars below. And on the right side, we have Venus above and Saturn below. Of course, I can keep talking about only the astrological relation and this 6-point star for hours and hours. But today I'll give you just a sneak peek about this. So combine astrology and numerology, we'll find a very interesting relation. First, let's consider only the spiritual numbers. So if you just consider the triangle pointing down, we have the 3 points relate to Jupiter, Venus, and the moon. The spiritual number of Jupiter is 3, Venus is 6, and the moon is 2. When you add all those 3 numbers, we have 11. So the desire to manifest is related to the number 11. As you know, 11 is one of the master numbers. Now, consider the triangle pointing up. On this triangle, we have in the head of the triangle, Mercury, and then in the base, we have Mars and Saturn. Mercury's spiritual number is 5, Mars is 9, and Saturn is 8. And all those numbers adds 22, another master number. So the interpretation of those numbers. Let me show first the triangle pointing down. That adds 11. 11 is a master number. It's a perfect number and represents man's idealism in search for spirituality and contact with God. So in the moment the desire is to move down to the manifestation, we need to keep a connection to the source. And the connection is this search for spirituality and contact with God. We'll be here, but we'll keep the connection, thanks to number 11. 11 means the breath of life, the exhalation of the Creator taking the spirit into the body. Now the triangle pointing up, that adds 22. 22 is another master number, and it's considered capable to turning all dreams and wishes into reality. What does it mean? You know, this material life is a dimension of dreams. So the desire to return back home is the desire to awakening in the elevate realms, where the reality, the spiritual reality is waiting for us. When you add both numbers, both triangles, the sum of those numbers is 33, another master number. And 33 is the number of the master of wisdom, the ascendant master. Endowed with the high energy and has the purpose to do good in the manifested world. So we have 33 when you add both triangles, but remember we have in the center the sun, so we can add the spiritual number of the sun, that is 1. When you add 1 to this total 33, the result is 34, and 34 represents a spirit in the body. Look here in the right side. We have a triangle representing the spirit, number 3. Connected to the body, the square, number 4. So 34 is the spirit manifested in the body. Now we can look at different approach, considering only the material numbers. Remember, on the 6th episode, I talk about the relation between the planets and the numbers, the bridge between astrology and numerology. So now I'm using the information presented on that chapter. And now we are talking about the material numbers, because all the planets have a spiritual number and a material number. So adding the material numbers of the triangle pointing down, we have 4 from Jupiter, 7 from Venus, and 9 from Moon. The total is 20. And the triangle pointing up, we have 8 from Mercury, 5 from Mars, and 3 from Saturn. The total is 16. So the analysis of these numbers, first 20, the triangle pointing down, it means eternity. 20 means eternity. So I talk about our home, the place where we came from. And the synthesis of 20 is 2 plus 0 is 2. And 2 is the material number of Uranus, the planetary representative of wisdom, and works as a compass for human manifestation. The triangle pointing up adds 16. And 16 is the liberation from the old forms, allowing the new to manifest. So here talk a very important law of the universe, evolution. Release the old to connect the new. We're talking about evolution. And the synthesis of this number 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 is Neptune's spiritual number. And Neptune represents spirituality. When we add both numbers, both triangles, we have 36. 36 is the number of the manifestation of the light in this world. The manifestation of the light here is life. It is the number of the magic square of the sun. Can you see here in the right side, the square we have distributed in 6 columns and 6 lines, 36 numbers from 1 to 36. And this is considered as magic square because the numbers are distributed in a unique way. And if you add each line or each column, or even if diagonal, you'll find always the same result, 111. That's the reason this is called the magic square of the sun, because it's the square of number 6. 6 is the material number of the sun. So this symbol is how to manifest here in the material world the energy of the sun. If we add to the total of the star, if we add to the 36, the material number of the sun, we are talking about number 6, we have 42. 42 is the number of judges before the throne. You know, many different cultures and traditions talk about that one day our soul will be judged. It's a very famous illustration in the Book of Death of the Egyptians. The ceremony where the heart of the dead is weighted in a scale. On one plate of the scale, we have the heart, and the other plate we have a feather. So it means that the human heart cannot be heavier than a feather. And there are 42 judges observing this ceremony. Those 42 judges are, according to the Sanskrit tradition, the lords Lipikas, the lords of the karma. So, you know, when you used to study 6-point star according to the material numbers, we have this, the manifestation of the light here in the material world and the judgment of our soul. Isn't it beautiful? We have more. Now let's use this theory in a practical way, because knowing the relation between the planets and the Star of Wisdom, we can develop a procedure that helps us to, in a very practical way, to begin our spiritual journey. We can open the first gateway in our journey. But first of all, we need to understand, if this symbol is a star, you know, a star is supposed to be above in the heaven. So if this 6-point star is above and we are here down below, the point of this 6-point star is closest to us, is the point ruled by the moon. So this is important information, because the moon is the closest energetic center to us here on Earth. It's up to the moon to open the spiritual pathway back to the superior realms. So we need to count on the spiritual moon's energy to open this first gateway. And so to open this gateway, we can practice a very simple ritual, a very simple prayer. We need, first of all, to focus our mind and our spirit to connect to the energy of the moon. But If you try to do this during the night, observing directly the moon, and you know people love to make rituals under the full moon, you maybe will be guided to the wrong direction. You'll be misguided by the moon when you observe and when you pray directly to the moon. Why? The explanation is very simple. The moon is a mirror reflecting the light of the sun to illuminate our nights. And what happens with the mirror? When we are in front of a mirror, we move our right hand and it seems that you are moving the left hand because a mirror reverses. And under this reversion, it may create a lot of confusion. So that's the reason it's not the best way to connect to the moon's energy. Observing the moon, praying for the moon, making rituals on the moon light, because we are under the influence of a reversed light, a reversed energy. And it may cause a lot of confusion. It's very clear explained by the word lunatic. Lunatic came from the luna. Luna is moon in Latin. So people used to say in the Middle Ages that people who observe the moon for a long time becomes lunatics, becomes confused on their minds. So studying spiritual science, we can find a most safe way to connect to the moon energy, avoiding the confusion of this reversed energy reflecting the energy of the sun. And you can do this in the moment the sun set is touching the horizon in the east, in the west. Because 2 hours before the sunset, the sun is in the seventh house. And according to sacred astrology, the seventh house is ruled by the moon. So in the moment the sun is on the seventh house, the sun is bring vitality to the energy of the moon. And the energy that reaches us observing the sun on this very moment is the energy amplified from the moon, the spiritual energy of the moon. So my suggestion for a prayer is looking for a place you can observe the sun setting on the water. It can be a lake, sea, but it's very important to have a water mirror, because you can see that when the sun is almost touching the horizon, you can see the reflection of the sunlight on the water like a pathway, like a road made by light. So on this very moment, you can see the sun, you are focused on the sun, and you're observing this pathway of light. This is the moment to make a prayer. A very simple prayer. The prayer we used to teach to the kids, to young people, honoring the guardian angel. So why to use the so childish prayer? Because to begin the spiritual journey, we need to reconnect to our innocence. To have the innocence of a child. It means to be open for all possibilities with no judgment. This is very important for to begin the spiritual journey. So my suggestion is find a place like this, and in the exact moment the sun is touching the horizon, you go deep inside your heart and make this prayer, observing the sun, and you make that simple prayer. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits me here, ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide. Amen. And in the continuation, you repeat 3 times, Archangel Gabriel, please open the pathway of my spiritual journey. Archangel Gabriel, please open the pathway of my spiritual journey. Archangel Gabriel, please open the pathway of my spiritual journey. Because Gabriel is the archangel in expressing the energy, the spiritual angel of the moon. So this is really huge, really important. And if you repeat this procedure for 100 days, you don't need to go to a place observing the sunset all the 100 days, only the first one. And the other 99, you can just bring the memory of this image. And you can repeat this procedure for 100 days. And you'll see during this period how the spiritual things will become more clear for you. So this is the combination of knowledge and devotion. You know, the spiritual journey needs both information, the correct information, the elevate information combined with devotion. That's the reason you combine information and a prayer to open an important gateway for us who are beginning our spiritual journey. So I know today I shared with you a lot of information, and there's much more. So I think it's enough for now. Thank you for following me until the end of this presentation, and see you on the next episode. Bye.